documents to be presented? Honorable Majority, are there any documents to be presented?
Mr. Speaker, if you will be pleased.
First, I'm sorry, I think I've jumped to, we have to deal with questions and then statements, yes. I'll go to questions. Question time now. First, urgent questions.
Mr. Speaker, if you'll be pleased, we would like to proceed to 6B. 6B. Foreign Affairs. The Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa.
That's the question time.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we want him to have the opportunity to ask his question.
Very well.
Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa. Mr. Speaker, we want to prioritize his question. Yes.
Very well. We are asking that the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs be given the priority. After that, I'll come to the others, please. Yes, question 6B, in the name of the Honorable Member for Northern, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa. Yes, Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs, kindly take your seat. Yes, Honorable, you may ask your question.
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration steps the ministry is taking to urgently resolve widespread complaints and agitations from Ghanaian passport and visa applicants abroad, particularly at our US and UK missions, about the mission's unresponsiveness and alleged poor consular relations. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in pursuance of its mandate of promoting and protecting the interest of Ghanaian citizens abroad, the Ministry, since 2017, has introduced a number of interventions aimed at improving the delivery of consular services, that is, visas and passports by our diplomatic missions. These measures are indicated as follows. 1, the online application system. Mr. Speaker, under the government's digitization agenda, my ministry has rolled out an online integrated system for passport and visa applicants in our missions abroad. Based on this new arrangement, applicants are required to book appointments through an online platform and report at the missions on scheduled appointment dates in order to be attended to by consular officers. Through the online system, missions abroad are now able to handle passports and visa services in a more efficient and reliable way, thereby reducing the turnaround time for providing these services. On the other hand, the system makes it very convenient and comfortable for our compatriots to access consular services abroad without having to go through much hassle and frustrations. Indeed, in the case of our mission in London, a chat room service has been introduced, which makes it possible for applicants to ask questions on issues of concern and to channel their complaints about consular services. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister. Sorry, Honorable Member.
Mr. Speaker, forgive me. I hadn't actually finished. Number 2, we are extending biometric passport application services to our missions abroad. As part of the efforts to decentralize passport application services and make it easier for our compatriots abroad to acquire Ghanaian passports, my ministry, since the year 2020, has commenced a program to equip all Ghanaian missions abroad to enable them receive and process biometric passports. I am happy to report that as a result of this initiative, 36 out of the total 66 missions are now able to process biometric passports. It is important to mention that plans are ongoing to cover the remaining 30 missions to ensure that Ghanaians abroad can apply for passports in any of our diplomatic missions without having to travel to Accra to do so, as was the practice previously. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, my ministry has also designated 11 missions as printing hubs. These missions have been resourced to print passports for our compatriots abroad. Based on this arrangement, all missions have been grouped and assigned to the printing hubs to print passport applications. Number 3, outreach consular services. Mr. Speaker, I wish to further inform the House that our diplomatic missions also embark upon outreach programs to provide consular services to Ghanaians who reside in remote communities. This initiative makes it possible for such people to access consular services such as acquisition of passports without having to travel long distances to our missions. Our missions engage the Ghanaian communities through town hall meetings. Indeed, our mission in London has divided the United Kingdom into 6 zones: the Southwest, the Southeast, the Midlands, the North, Scotland, and Wales, with a schedule to visit at least every quarter. With this initiative, the mission is able to reach out to every community. Apart from the town hall meetings, the consular section periodically holds virtual meetings with the communities to respond to concerns of Ghanaians on matters relating to passports, visas, dual citizenship certificates, and other consular-related documents. On measures to resolve complaints, whilst my ministry has made tremendous efforts to improve on delivery of consular services by missions abroad through the measures mentioned in my presentation, we also acknowledge the need to put in place a system which expeditiously addresses complaints from applicants. Accordingly, the Client Service Unit, located at the ministry in Accra, has been equipped with the relevant software which enables the unit to provide real-time updates on passport applications to applicants across the globe. The unit is also able to respond to basic complaints and grievances on matters concerning passport applications. The contact lines of the unit are currently posted on the ministry's website. Additionally, missions abroad are being supported to engage services of customer service professionals to handle complaints about consular services of applicants. I also wish to mention that the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic in March 2020 significantly affected the operations of our missions, particularly in the provision of consular services. Missions had to scale down consular activities in compliance with public health safety measures instituted by their respective countries of accreditation. Fortunately, with the easing of restrictions globally, full consular services have now been restored in all our missions, and in some instances, some deliberate measures have been taken to clear all backlog of applications that were recorded during the lockdown period. Mr. Speaker, I also want to take this opportunity to inform the August House that effective early next year, the ministry is rolling out e-visa stickers, which would improve on our visa regime and harmonize it with international practices. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I wish to emphasize that my ministry remains committed towards its prime responsibility of promoting and protecting the interests of our nationals abroad. In this regard, it will not relent in its effort to ensure that missions are adequately equipped to discharge efficient and reliable consular services to meet the welfare needs of our compatriots. Mr. Speaker, Permit me also to use this opportunity to appeal to this August House to support especially our committee, the Committee on Foreign Affairs, in obtaining the required resources, particularly from the Ministry of Finance, to help execute our mandate towards Ghanaians abroad. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank the Honourable Foreign Minister for her elaborate response. My first supplementary question, Mr. Speaker, relates to the impact of the agitations that happened on our international image in the Committee of Nations. There were all kinds of media reports, videos from people who felt, poorly served, and they really ran us down as a country. Some of those WhatsApp videos that I saw. I want to find out if the ministry is considering some early response mechanisms where you can forestall some of these developments so that we can keep intact the high image of our country. Yes, I've heard you on what you are doing subsequently after, but what lessons are we learning so that we can be more proactive to prevent some of this bad press that really does not enhance the image of our country?
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, indeed, some of these complaints that go international as a result of social media and its spread does, in some instances, dent the image of the ministry. And it is for that reason that we are putting in place we are replicating what we've done in London, which is the customer chat rooms in other missions, so that applicants, our compatriots, can actually come in and ask questions even before they access the services that we provide. We also have customer service online systems that also deal with our customers or our compatriots who are applicants who want to access services. But Mr. Speaker, one of the issues that we find when we investigate many of these complaints is that about 50% of the time, we would find that it is actually the applicant who has not either gone through the requirements as they should, or in some cases, they are even filling the online forms not as they should, wrongly, I must say. And this is what results in the frustrations. I have had several occasions when I have gone into the system to find out what exactly happened, only to find out that it is the fault of the applicant. So I think that more and more we should be educating our people on what to do when they go online to fill these forms, because most of the time it is the online system that they find frustrating. And Mr. Speaker, I must say that for all of us, we find filling forms quite problematic. However, this is where we are now, where most things have to be done online, and therefore we must all tune our minds to ensuring that we do what is necessary, because that is the way now. So, Mr. Speaker, this is what I want to say. We are continuously improving on our services so that the complaints are less. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, my second question relates to the current policy of the ministry on turnaround time. I want to find out from the Honourable Minister, what is the current policy on the turnaround time? Because there are complaints that sometimes they start the process 2 months, 3 months, some even claim 7 months. They have been in the queue waiting. Is there a policy so that we can educate the public and all of us can know, and then we can help with the monitoring? What is our turnaround time when you begin the passport application process or the visa application process at our Ghana missions abroad?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for passports and even for visas, we do have standard applications and expedited application services, which we offer and are on our website. However, many times our compatriots do not read carefully the steps, and as a result, for instance, they want an expedited service, but they do not pay for an expedited service. They want a postal service, overnight service, but they pay for standard postal service. I'll give an example. Just yesterday, I had a complaint that somebody's passport had been with a mission for almost 2 weeks, only to find out that that particular person had actually applied and paid for standard service, which means that he's within the 2-3 week period. And so it is not the fault of the mission that the passport is still there, and he thinks that it has delayed, but in actual fact, he has paid for a standard service instead of expedited service. So we have all these services and times clearly advertised on our website, and I would be grateful if we all could let our compatriots know. But we do so when we go around visiting the various communities. We avert their minds to the fact that these are the services we offer. This is the turnaround time for each service, and therefore, please pay attention. Even with the postal service, some will do overnight, some, instead of doing overnight, will not. And so this in itself delays, because if you do the standard postal service, it could take 1 week before UPS or FedEx is able to send your passport back to you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, finally from me, the Honorable Minister said that so far 36 out of 66 of our missions are issuing biometric passports. But she didn't give us an indication on when the remaining 30 missions will also be brought on board. Can we have any timelines in that regard? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are looking at the year 2022, next year, to equip the rest of the missions. But I must say that I'm probably one of the people in the ministry who think that these machines, these missions must be equipped with the biometric systems according to the estimated number of Ghanaians. Otherwise, it does not make business or economic sense to put or pay for a biometric machine, put it in a mission which probably has about only 100 or 200 Ghanaians. And so this is what we are looking at. So far, we've done all the big the missions with huge populations of Ghanaians, and we are going to go through the rest and do it according to the number of Ghanaians who will access the service. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Since the Honourable Minister is on the seat, can we proceed to other questions to be answered by the Honourable Minister? Other questions to be answered by the same Minister. That's what I intend to do. All right, so yes, question number 725 is also in the name of Honorable. Yes, Zita, do you want to say something?
Speaker, I was only drawing your attention to an addendum order paper where we have questions directed to the same minister. So if we can put the cluster together, and then the minister will deal with those questions.
Those are not urgent questions, so answers provided have been modified. Is that my understanding? Very well. So question number 725, Honourable Member for Norton.
I'm most grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration the foreign policy considerations for approving requests from other presidents to use Ghana's presidential jet, the total number of approvals since 2017 to date, and the financial implications to the Ghanaian taxpayer. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, the foreign policy considerations for approving requests from presidents of sisterly countries to use Ghana's presidential jet derives from the tenets of Ghana's foreign policy enshrined in Article 40 and 73 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, which include good neighborliness, commitment to regional integration, African unity, mutual assistance, and interdependence. Those considerations respond to Ghana's deepest national interest. Approvals to the requests were based on the exigencies of the situation in the West African region, Ghana's leadership of ECOWAS, and the necessity for ensuring the effective participation of West African leaders in meetings that are critical for brokering peace in the sub-region to enable our citizens live in a safe and secure neighborhood and to achieve our national transformation objectives through regional economic integration. As chair of the authority of ECOWAS, Ghana has had to exert extra efforts and resources to provide leadership in finding lasting solutions to the crisis in our ECOWAS region. These crises have the potential to worsen the security and humanitarian situation in our sister countries, resulting in the influx of refugees as well as the infiltration of terrorists into Ghana, a situation that will create insecurity in the country. The considerations for approving requests are also based on the concept of reciprocity. States, as part of bilateral and multilateral diplomatic relations, provide assistance of different forms to each other. Thus, Ghanaian leaders have in the past been transported to different parts of the world on the presidential planes of other states. Similarly, Ghana has found it beneficial to our interest in a peaceful and thriving West Africa to lend national equipment for mediation efforts within the sub-region. The total number of approvals since 2017 to date and the financial implications to the Ghanaian taxpayer falls within the purview of the Ministry of National Security. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable.
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my first supplementary question is grounded in our constitutional provisions on foreign policy. Article 41A provides that in its dealings with other nations, the government shall promote and protect the interests of Ghana. The Speaker, Article 73 also provides that the government of Ghana shall conduct its international affairs in consonance with the accepted principles of public international law and diplomacy in a manner consistent with the national interest of Ghana. So, Mr. Speaker, the national interest is core, is very fundamental in our foreign policy considerations. I want to find out from the Honourable Foreign Minister if, considering the rate of these approvals, I have been doing some tracking for some time now, and I know that at least over the last 4 months, not less than 10 African presidents have used our presidential jet. And you are indicating to us that we are doing this gratis. Do we have any limits? Yes, I understand that it's good to look out for our neighbors, good neighborliness and all of that. But we must not do that, as the Constitution provides, to the detriment of our national interest. Because this is a country where we are told that we are so broke that we need the e-levy at all costs. And at times are really, really hard. So national interest, as Article 40 and Article 73 provides, do we have any threshold so that maybe you approve probably 1 or 2 a month, or is it that as many African presidents who apply, we approve to the economic detriment of our country? Are we protecting our national interest if we continue on this path? That is the question. The Honourable Minister understands the question.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the supreme national interest of Ghana today is to ensure that Ghana is safe, Ghana is secure, that Ghana is not plagued with the kind of insecurity of armed conflict and terrorist attacks that our neighbors, and I give the example of our neighbor, immediate neighbor, Burkina Faso, is plagued with. And for me, that is the supreme national interest, to safeguard our citizens. And it is for that reason that some of these decisions are taken. Yes, financially, it may place a burden on us, but I think that the cost of insecurity spreading from the Sahel into Ghana is more than the financial cost that we will have to deal with, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is also asking whether there is any threshold. I am not aware of any threshold, but I believe that what we do, the decisions we take, are taken in a manner that is very responsible. The immediate use of our presidential jet by other presidents was as a result of an emergency meeting, summit, that the chair of authority had to call. And he had to immediately assemble his colleagues. And that decision had to be taken in the supreme interest of the West African ECOWAS region. It was to do with the coup d'etat in Guinea and also issues to do with Mali and, of course, the Sahel as well. So, Mr. Speaker, these decisions are taken because they are necessary. And cost, I believe, is important, but it takes a backstage when the security of a nation is in jeopardy. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Speaker, my second question relates to how all of this is being funded. At the work of the Foreign Affairs Committee, I know that this is not budgeted for. I follow proceedings in this House keenly. I don't see it as a line item in any of the budgets from the various MDAs. Does the Honourable Minister have any indication where we are funding these, for want of a better word, African support presidential charter systems that we are carrying out? Do you have any indication where the funds are, or which vote is responsible for financing these arrangements.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the presidential jet and how it is operated actually falls under the Ghana Air Force, under the purview of the Minister for Defense, and I'm sure that he may be able to give figures. So I don't have any figures at this moment, and it's not part of our budget, whether budgeted for or outside the budget. It's not part of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Thank you, sir.
No, let me finish. Then you come. Mr. Speaker,
Yes,
my third supplementary question relates to the last paragraph of the Honorable Minister's response. I must indicate that I'm quite disappointed at that response. The Honorable Minister says that the total number of approvals since 2017 to date and the financial implications to the Ghanaian taxpayer falls within the purview of the Ministry of National Security, unquote. Mr. Speaker, I want to find out from the Honorable Minister why she did not follow her own precedent, which she set here the last time, which I hailed her for publicly. I really commended her. That was a question I filed on evacuations. And she went out of her way to get the Minister for National Security to provide answers to her before she came to the House and provided a comprehensive response to my question. I want to find out why the Honorable Minister didn't do that this time round. I mean, it was a very beautiful thing she did. We all commended her. But this time, she didn't contact her cabinet colleague and is redirecting me to the Minister for National Security when she could have been kinder to me as she did the last time. So I want to find out from the Honorable Minister why she didn't follow her own beautiful precedents.
Yes, Honorable Minister, do you want to answer that?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me apologize to the honorable member for not following precedents. He did not give me enough time to be able to go digging at the Ministry of National Security, which I have no locus. I don't have any locus there. So it's the Minister for National Security who will be able to give the number of approvals that have been granted to date. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I refer to a publication dated October 2010 that the government of Ghana has donated $3 million to the Haitian government. And to buttress or support my question, Mr. Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, Deputy Minister for Information, told the Ghanaian Times in Accra that the donation was in fulfillment of President John Atta Mills' pledge. Mr. Speaker, my colleague referred to Article 40 and the side notice on international relations. I want to find out from the Minister whether it was in the same spirit of international relations that our colleagues from the West Coast were supported in that regard. Thank you very much.
Honorable, but were you the Minister? Which year are you referring to?
Okuja to 2010.
But the questions are not directed at him.
I'm asking the Minister.
Honorable Minister was
whether
not
it
the
was in
Minister
the same
then,
light of international relations as, yes.
Honorable Minister, were you the Minister in 2010? She was not.
Mr. Speaker did not understand my question.
Kindly clarify.
I laid a foundation based on Article 40, which my colleague referred to, and referenced it to a donation of $3 million that we donated to the good people of Haiti when they were saddled with that disaster. And I'm asking the Minister that the presidential jet that goes round to support our colleagues from West Africa, whether it's in the same spirit of international relations as yes.
Honorable Minister, hold on. Yes, Honorable Deputy Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I think that the spirit the member is referring to are two separate spirits. The spirit that he's referring to, it was 2010 spirit. We are referring to 2021 spirit. So if you file a question for the 2010 spirit, I thank you.
Honorable Minister, do you want to answer the question about spirits? Whether it's 2010 or 2015? Yes, Leader.
This can never be a supplementary question. I'm drawing your attention.
Let me take that decision.
I'm drawing your attention that this cannot be a supplementary question. But if you want to admit it, you can do so. That will know that you have admitted questions that are not related at all.
Thank you, but I've decided if the minister wants to answer it, I'll permit her. There are many questions I allow her to answer because it may generate calm down tensions here in the House. Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it is in that same spirit. The spirit. The spirit of being a good member of the Committee of Nations. Yes, that same spirit, although we are here physically. Yes, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Member for Ododio.
Right, Honorable Speaker, in the answer to the second supplementary question asked by Honorable Samuel Kuyeto Abraka, the Honorable Minister made it clear that even though this places a financial burden put on us in the spirit of our international cooperation, these things are not looked at. The monetary aspect, the financial burden is not looked at. Right, Honorable Speaker, I want to ask the Minister, does it lie within her bosom to decide whether a financial burden overweighs an international interest or international interest overweighs a financial burden? Or the people of Ghana deserve to know how much is costing the taxpayer of this country for us to discharge this our diplomatic responsibility to fellow African countries. It's important that the Ghanaian taxpayer must know. So I want him, the Honourable Minister, I want her to be able to look at the question once again and see whether she can provide for us how much it costs us as a country to do these things for our fellow neighbors.
Yes, Leader. Minister, hold on. The leader is on his feet, sir.
Speaker, I want to employ my colleague to revert his mind to Order 67. Speaker, he should revert his mind to Order 67 1C. No question, Speaker, with your permit. No question shall be asked which raises an issue already decided or which has been answered substantially during the current session. Speaker, clearly that question has been answered substantially by the Honourable Minister, except to say my colleague was not listening. So the answer has been provided. My colleague is completely out of order. An issue, if he has another question, he should rather come with another question. This particular question has been answered.
Yes, in fact, the minister answered that question from the questioner himself. And he said that the cost is borne by, it's not part of her ministry's budget, and that it is by the Ministry of Defense. And so, Ghana Air Force, is that right? I think he said Ghana Air Force, which is part of the Ministry of Defense. So, I'll move on. Yes, Afaja Tosa.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. May I know from the Minister if the request for these services were channeled through his ministry, her ministry, given the fact that the requests are coming from foreign heads of state? and if she can give us a fair idea as to the number of trips that has been embarked on this fact. Thank you.
Honourable Minister, you only ask whether it passes through your ministry. The other part has been answered.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yes, some of the requests could pass through my ministry. And I give the example of the last meeting where 3 heads of state had to be picked up from their respective countries to Ghana for an emergency meeting. The time was very short, and they had to be part of the meeting because these are countries that border the Republic of Guinea, and therefore those heads of state had to be here. So they made their difficulties known, and we had to work on it. But apart from that, I don't have readily any other trips which have been routed through my ministry. But this recent one, because it had to do with a summit, an emergency summit, I knew of the difficulties, and I then had to relay the messages to the appropriate quarters, which is the Chief of Staff's office, and also the Minister for National Security, as well as the Minister for Defense, who has the presidential jet as part of his responsibility, the operations of it. So that's what I can say regarding the question by the honourable member. Thank you.
Yes, honourable member for.
Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Speaker, on the 18th of September this year, the record will show that whilst our president had travel commitments to the UN, national carrier was then in use by the Liberian president. So my question is, what is our national policy when a travel request from a sister state coincides with the travel commitments of the sitting president?
Like in this case,
like it happened on the 18th, when the president, because the carrier was used by another president, he had to charter. I just want to know the policy in that regard. Thank you.
Yes, honourable Minister, I don't know, I'm not sure if I understood her, but please allow her to clarify something.
Mr. Speaker, if a request which does not happen often at all clashes with the president's travel, of course, the president, this is for the use, the jet is for the use of the president, and therefore the president will use the jet and decline the request that has been made. I'm not aware of this particular situation of the 18th of September. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, but it did not pass through my ministry, so I'm not aware of it.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to find out from the Honourable Minister that these foreign presidents who use the presidential jets, have they on any occasion complained to her that the jet do not have the adequate facilities that can make them comfortable when they travel in the air?
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I do not have direct contact all the time with heads of state for them to be able to engage me on such matters.
Very well. There's one more question in the name of the honourable member for Southern for the minister. Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker,
I rise to ask the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration whether the ministry is aware that Ghanaian passports are in the hands of foreign citizens, especially brothers and sisters from Nigeria in the United Arab Emirates. And the steps the ministry is taking to probe and immediately correct the situation, as it is creating problems for the Ghanaian citizens in the UAE. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, the issue concerning foreigners acquiring Ghanaian passports has been a long-standing problem for the country. The problem has been largely attributed to the ease with which one can acquire the Ghanaian birth certificate, which serves as the key requirement for acquiring a passport. Mr. Speaker, as part of the efforts to tackle this menace, my ministry migrated to the biometric passport regime in the year 2010. The new system, which involves taking fingerprints of applicants, has largely minimized the acquisition of Ghanaian passports by foreigners. Indeed, the current process for acquiring Ghanaian passports entails very rigorous vetting process by a team of security personnel from Ghana Immigration Service, National Security Council Secretariat, National Investigation Bureau, Criminal Investigation Department, and Research Department. With this arrangement, the ministry is able to detect and weed out cases of foreigners attempting to acquire our passports. Indeed, the vetting process has led to the arrests and prosecution of a number of culprits engaged in this criminal conduct. I wish to use this opportunity to thank Ghana Immigration Service and other security services for assisting my ministry in this regard. Mr. Speaker, on the specific allegation of foreign nationals in the United Arab Emirates holding Ghanaian passports, I wish to assure the House that our diplomatic mission accredited to that country has been directed to liaise with the host authorities to investigate and submit a report on the matter for appropriate action. This is the only action we can take in the first instance, as the relevant institutions in the host country are mandated to investigate the allegations. Any necessary corrective action will follow as required. Mr. Speaker, the ministry remains committed towards safeguarding the security and integrity of our passports, and every necessary measure will be taken to adhere to that. It is against this background that the ministry is currently taking steps to introduce the chip-embedded passports by the second quarter of next year, 2022. It is part of the efforts to enhance the security of the passports in line with the standards prescribed by the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO. Let me also inform the House that the ministry is working closely with the National Identification Authority to integrate the Ghana card into the passport acquisition system. The move will enhance verification of passport application and hence enable the ministry to effectively address the issue of foreigners trying to acquire our passports. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, from the first paragraph of the minister, she acknowledged the fact that with your kind indulgence, let me quote her words, that the problem has been largely attributed to the ease with which one can acquire the Ghanaian birth certificate, which serves as a key requirement for acquiring a passport. Mr. Speaker, my question to the minister is, having known this, is there any collaboration, ministerial collaboration or interagency collaboration to assist the birth and death registry to enable them render services and also to check some of this from happening in the first place, since that seems to be one of the major causes as identified by the answer given? Between your ministry and the ministry under which birth and death is, if that there's any effective collaboration support, helping them build the capacity to
Wait,
enable them
cut
to
the
render
commentary.
services.
She'll answer. Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Yes, there is collaboration, and even more so now as a result of the national identification card. And therefore, it's now easy for us to verify a birth certificate, which is now in biometric form as well. And so that in itself has weeded out a lot of these foreign nationals who ordinarily can acquire a birth certificate. And so today, I believe that because of the close collaboration that exists, and also the fact that many Ghanaians now have the national identification card, it is a lot better in terms of the numbers that we see. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, again, the paragraph 2 contains the support, the rigorous check that these institutions help to apprehend culprits. And if I may quote your portion of the second paragraph, you said, indeed, the current process for acquiring Ghanaian passport entails very rigorous vetting process by a team of security personnel, as you have outlined there. From the time of application and when one is expected to get his passport, from the time of applying for the passport and the time to get the passport, probably the duration. Will you consider that to be enough, considering the kind of work these institutions do, to have been doing a thorough work to ensure that nothing slips, that they are able to really find out the fraud that is so key and dear to all of us? Are they well supported in terms of capacity to be able to, even though you have outlined some successes in terms of arrest, but looking at the time of our putting in application and when we expect to get our passport, do they have the required capacity to be able to do all of that and apprehend such people?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I must say that vetting takes place in two forms. The vetting that takes place when an online application is deposited. A lot takes place then because the background checks are done behind the scenes without having the applicant before the officers. And then when the applicant then has an appointment to appear for biometric taking of the fingerprints and also going through the different processes, all these face-to-face interactions happen. And in many of the cases, we have detected false applications either through our background checks behind the scenes or in the face-to-face interaction between the officers from the various MDAs and applicants. And so this is done in twofold, behind the scenes and then face-to-face. And it has worked and continues to work. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Yomi, any supplementary question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to know, again, the effort to introduce the chip-embedded passport as one of the ways to solve this problem. Will the minister walk us through how effective, when this is introduced next year, per your answer? Because we heard about this somewhere, I think, from your predecessor in 2016, that government intended to introduce this, and we've not really seen that happening. Good, 2022 is going to be done. Can you walk us through how effective this, when finally introduced, will help prevent this from maybe occurring?
Honorable, is that a supplementary question? Honorable Ayumi, to ask the minister to walk you through. Is there a supplementary question or? Minister, are you minded to answer the question?
Mr. Speaker, if I may add a little to just clarify what I wanted to request you to give us. Give us further, better clarification on how effective this chip embedded passport will be in solving the problem. Since that has been acknowledged as one of the ways to solve it.
Very well, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, I'm not technically able to take you through the process, but all I can assure you, as I have been assured, as is happening in other countries, even within West Africa, some countries are using chip embedded, and it has reduced a lot of fraudulent applications and so on, because your details are embedded in a chip and it is easily accessible. And the processes, together with that of the national identification card, will ensure the integrity of our passports. So that's what I can say. But, Mr. Speaker, if the honourable member is minded to ask that specific question as a substantive one, I will come to the House with the necessary details to give the House. Thank you.
Very well. Yes, Honorable Member for
Adaku.
Adaku.
Yeah, we thank the Minister for providing answers to this question, and I commend her for the steps we are taking to make the Ghanaian passport more secure. In her answer, she suggested that applicants have been, or fake applicants have been detected and taken out of the system. Is it, in your opinion, that the problem is one-sided, that is only applicants, or do you also notice that some officials could also condone, because in the past we know when you get fake passport, fake driving license, it is not merely the applicants doing that. You need a collaboration from other people to do that. Do you detect that there will be work to be done on your side as well to make sure that we can make the passports more secure than they are currently? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in every human endeavor, you will find people who go against the grain, who do what they're not supposed to do. But I must insist that the officers there do their best, and I cannot vouch for them 100%, but I know for sure that they give of their best. And what I've done, Mr. Speaker, is to move them every 6 months so that officers don't stay there for too long and get familiar with the system. But I must draw attention to the activities of those we call Goro boys, the middlemen. And we have found that in many of the cases, they are the ones who are aiding and abetting such applicants who really shouldn't even come anywhere close to any of our national documents, whether it's birth certificate or passports or any others. So that's what I can say. But we continue to improve on the system to make sure that the people there have enough integrity to do their work. Thank you.
Yes, let me come to member for Musa South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Minister has made several references to people who try to obtain Ghanaian passports with fake or fictitious documents. I want to know from the Minister if there are any prescribed sanctions for such persons if and when discovered.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we put them before the courts and they are sentenced. And there are many of them in Ghanaian jails. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Madu, want to ask question? And that's the last question I'm admitting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. I would like to find out from the minister. In her answer, she mentioned that there is a chip that contains data of various people in terms to that is a way of being effective. I would like to know how protective is those data, because when you look at Data Protection Act, how protective, how secure is those data?
Honorable, may you repeat the question, please?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My question to the minister is, they are collecting data of individuals in a chip which is embedded in the passport. I would like to find out from her how protective or secure that data is, vis-a-vis in consonant with the Data Protection Act.
Minister, I don't know whether you got the question. You wanted to know how protective the chip.
Mr. Speaker, I don't believe this is a question for me, because first of all, we have not started the chip embedded regime. Secondly, matters to do with data protection, I believe, are under the purview of the Ministry of Communications. And so she may be able to answer that question, a substantive question put to her better than I can. And of course, as and when we start, I probably will be able to shed more light on this question. But for now, we haven't started. We don't run the chip embedded regime yet. And so issues to do with data protection, I cannot speak to. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. On behalf of the House, let me thank you very much for attending upon the House to answer questions. We are so grateful, and you are hereby discharged. Let me now invite
We begin from Parliament, where Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu has served notice he will challenge the ruling of the First Deputy Speaker dismissing his motion of rescission on the 2022 budget. Joseph Osei-Wusu, at the start of today's proceedings, insisted that he gave a ruling during last Wednesday's parliamentary proceedings, which were characterized by chaos. According to the First Deputy Speaker, he gave the ruling and proceeded to ask the Table of Office to amend the votes and proceedings to reflect events of that day. But that was challenged by the Minority Leader, who insisted that Osei-Wusu did not rule on the motion and therefore charged him to put the motion to a vote. Let's speak to my colleague, Kwesi Parker-Wilson, who has been in Parliament for us. Parker, bring us up to speed on happenings on the floor of Parliament.
Aisha, I have been reliably informed by the minority that this motion is only not to challenge the ruling of the First Deputy Speaker, but also to question his conduct. They believe that his conduct is quite unparliamentary. What he's done is sort of undermining the rules and procedures of Parliament. And anybody who has a better understanding or appreciation of Parliament knows that Parliament is guided by the standing orders, and the speakers derive their authority and their powers from the standing orders. So any breach amounts to undermining the standing order. So that is what they are going to do. In fact, as I speak to you, the minority chief whip and the minority leader himself are not in the chamber. They have moved out to go and finalize on the motion because they are not happy with the decision. Again, we are told that the appropriation or the estimate for the budget will be done tomorrow, will commence tomorrow. The minority has a different view because they believe that they will be successful with this motion. And what it means is that if they are successful with their motion, then the whole 2022 budget again would be thrown out by the minority if they succeed with this particular motion of recession. And you know that the concern about the recession is about the approval of the budget by just one-sided house, being the NPP MPs in the chamber. So that has been discussed earlier in the chamber. And then secondly, there was an issue about the amendment. Yesterday, you recall that the finance minister held the press conference and again indicated to us that he has officially written to the Speaker of Parliament with regards to some amendment being made to the budget. Well, today, the amendment has been laid before the House, but not without disagreement. The minority again raised concerns about the absence of the finance minister. They believe the motion is in the name of the finance minister. We should have been in the chamber to lay the motion, the amendment before the House, but he didn't do that. But let me say that the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, was still clear in his mind that in spite of the amendment to the bill, they are still opposed to the e-levy. And e-levy is the most critical issue for the minority in this budget. And so if they are opposing it, what it means is that they are opposing the budget, even though the First Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joe Sewu, who was in the chamber, ruled that the amendment has been adopted and is been added to the budget for 2020. So that is what has transpired in the chamber. But I have with me the Honorable Telabi here, MP for Lower Manya Krobo constituency. Honorable, thank you very much for your time. Now, I just want to get something clear. The minority has said that what the First Deputy Speaker of Parliament did was unconstitutional. But my concern is if you indeed are convinced in your mind that your leader was right, why did he concede to the ruling that the First Deputy Speaker ruled on the matter?
Well, you see, the fact is that in every situation, even the courts, whatever ruling that given by whoever, but be the judge, whichever level, once there's a ruling, until you come up with a substantive motion to overturn it, it stands as a ruling. You understand? It's the same thing in Parliament. There has been some ruling. We think it is unfair. It didn't take into consideration the rules of engagement so far as Parliament is concerned, and therefore we have to come up with a motion, to overturn it, and that is what we are going to do.
But by this motion, I know that we're still for on the laps of the First Deputy Speaker of Parliament. I mean, he has to decide whether to adopt the motion or not.
Yes, and that is where his conduct would come, to play. We want to see whether he is acting as a speaker because or he is deciding for himself and his party.
But we expect him to adopt the motion when it's
certainly, because you are supposed to notify him. You understand? You are supposed, to bring to his attention, and that's what the speaker, the leader, our leader did. Indicating that this is what we are going to do. So that is what is captured in the Constitution, in our standing order. Now, information we have indicated to him that this is what we are going to do. So let's see whether he will accept it or not, and then whether he accepts it, as I said, would also indicate the conduct of the speaker.
Well, let's talk about the budget itself because I'm very curious. I mean, you came up with 5 demands.
Yes.
4 have been adopted by the finance.
Well, even the
but the e-levy, there's still a matter of concern. There's those who have said that the minority is being headstrong.
No, not exactly. You see, it is not the minority alone that is against the e-levy, and that must be drummed home seriously. The people of Ghana are against this. Even NPP stalwarts, Kwame Pianim, is on record. When this budget was read, I'm sure you joined us. Did you listen to the consultants? Those they invited. We didn't invite them. So the experts they brought, not even a single person among those experts indicated or concluded that that e-levy was okay. Everybody was against, the fact that the e-levy was regressive, the fact that we are embarking on a certain process of trying to digitalize. Now, we are encouraging people, we are encouraging paperless, we are encouraging, reducing the use of, hard currency.
You understand? Paper currencies, whether it be coins or whatever, because of security reasons. You understand? We want to ease, business, the doing of business as far as our various day-to-day transactions are concerned. And you want to discourage people because you see, in the wisdom of the economy, those who came to speak to us, they believe, and I also believe that this is not an inelastic, sort of situation because they're out. If it is inelastic, then now you can push the people to the wall. But now, what is going to happen is that we are going to have a lot of cash in the system. If the two of us go and purchase something from, this desk right now, and you have your card, or you have e-money, that's the mobile money, on your phone. Once you pay the person, you are going to pay extra 1.75. But then if I have cash on me, okay, it's part of the risk. If I have cash on me, it means that you are going to pay. I'm going to pay less that amount. So there are going to be options. You understand? So it's going to defeat the purpose of digitalization that has come home. So much.
I think I get an understanding about the e-levy, but I know that the estimate we are told will begin tomorrow.
Yes.
If you succeed with your motion of rescission, what does that mean? Does it mean that does it overthrow the budget?
It means you don't have anything for us.
So if you fail, then the e-levy will still be on the table. Are you going to support it at the various committees?
Well, see, we have made our position clear that it is inimical, it's regressive. We don't support it. So at the committee level with the budget estimation, what are you going to do? Well, you see, I mean, at the consideration of the estimate, it's not only about 2022.
Right.
We have to, go into how 2021 allocations were utilized. Okay. You understand? So that's another thing, another area. It's not about just 2022. It's also about, accounting for what monies we gave them, in the previous year. And that's also very, very important. Because you see, if you look at if the Auditor General report is anything to go by, a lot of irregularities. And it is through that scrutiny that we can really, stop some of the infractions that are, ongoing.
Honorable, thank you very much for your time. So Aisha, that's the Member of Parliament for Lower Menya Tobo constituency. One of the there. Patrick Yaboma, I've just seen Patrick Yaboma. He is the Vice Chairman on the Finance Committee. I'm hoping to engage him briefly on that because the minority is still convinced that the e-levy should be discarded. The e-levy should be taken from the budget. And so I wanted to engage Patrick Yaboma briefly. Honorable, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. This is JoyNews. But I know I've ambushed it, I understand, I get it. But just briefly, your colleagues on the other side, the NDC colleagues, are still clear in their minds that the e-levy is a no for them. But some of them have threatened that if the budget is not approved, you can't blame them. They should rather blame the majority. And this was made by the LMLA MP. You were in the chamber, you heard them. I mean, why isn't the majority conceding or being amenable to changes with regards to the percentage on the e-levy?
Thank you. Yesterday, you listened to the finance minister.
Right.
He made a lot of concessions. He said that on the subject of the e-levy, consultations were what? Still ongoing. Okay. So it does not lie in the mouth of anyone to say that, no approval, approve. You understand? We are in this country to ensure that we govern the good people of this country. Well, ensure that we listen to the concerns of their needs and take on board their comments or their concerns. So I believe that it was in that spirit that the Minister of Finance made those concessions and also alluded to the fact that discussions are ongoing.
But some wanted the 1.75 drop. I mean, 1%.
If discussions are not held, if the numbers are not well explained to people, how can we arrive at a figure? Understand? So the fiscal and the scenario and the global economy ought to be put before those who are for or against it to understand where we are to make a decision for the good people of this country. So I'm praying that we arrive at a good resolution and ensure that we move this country forward.
Well, they are threatening not to support even the budget estimate when it's before the committee. I mean, you are the vice chair of the finance committee. Are you perturbed by the pronouncement of your minority?
The minority has always supported this country.
Well, but this one they won't support. They are very clear.
They are not saying they won't support the government for the budget. They have issues with the e-levy. We are talking to them. We are explaining issues to them. We want to arrive at a position where we all agree. That is democracy. So at the end of the day, democracy will win. At the end of the day, Ghana will be victorious. That's all. I don't want to go into numbers with you. You just ambushed me, and that's all I can tell you.
Actually, but finally for me, the minority leadership motives of filing challenging the speaker's decision on, of course, setting aside the approval of the budget by your side of the house. I'm told that the motion will be filed hopefully today or something. Is it something that you're worried about? Do you have the numbers in the house?
I pray that we don't get to that point.
You don't get to that point?
Yes, thank you very much.
Well, so Aisha, Patricia Boma, there he is saying that we don't get to the point where the minority will challenge the speaker's decision in order to set aside the approval of the budget. So this is the information we have from Parliament. In fact, I can confirm to you that the minority is seriously working towards the motion so that by the close of day today, they will submit the motion before the House for the debate and subsequently for a vote to be put on the motion to determine whether or not the budget should be approved or should be rejected.
The minority in Parliament has served notice it will push for a parliamentary probe into the conduct of Joseph Wusu, which they say led to the chaotic scenes in the chamber last Wednesday. According to the NDC MPs, the conduct of the Bekwai MP undermines the standing orders. The comment comes after the First Deputy Speaker called for sanctions against the minority MPs captured in the viral video, causing chaos in the House. He spoke on the probe with my colleague Emefa Pao.
I don't know. On the floor, some people have behaved what I will call unruly. I'll call unparliamentary. But when it comes to tensions, I don't see that. When we leave there, we'll discuss those things. When I was leaving the chamber on Wednesday, I was working with some of the minority people, and we were discussing our respective views. There was no tension between us. I am sure that I'm safe in the House. I'm sure that even those who had been seen on videos doing things which I will call unparliamentary have themselves regretted what they did. I'm not sure anybody wants to be cited again, but I have no reason to fear my colleague members of Parliament. We have been meeting. The day after my ruling on Wednesday, on the Thursday, as I've just said, I called the leaders of both sides of the House and the directors of Parliament, and we met to discuss some of the things that had happened after I had left the chamber. And that's when I said I learned that actually the whips on both sides have formed committees, including some of the people who were seen in the video doing things which are called unparliamentary. And they have reached consensus that those things will not be repeated. Let me say that since I've been a member of Parliament, we have always been cooperative. Now I know we are cooperating quite well. If you recall, the other time when you interviewed me on this program, I said, what I see is that it does appear that the party outside Parliament rather is taking hold and trying to direct how Parliament's behavior should be. That, in my view, is where we're getting it wrong. I think members of Parliament should stand firm and assert themselves. Whatever decision we come to, they will be held responsible.
But the minority insists Joseph Wusu should be held responsible for last Wednesday's disturbances in the chamber. Here's MP for Sanerigu and ranking member on the Communication Committee of Parliament, ABA Fuseni.
One of the greatest disservice to Parliament, one of the most bizarre decisions ever taken by a speaker, was for the Mr. Speaker to say that I wanted 37 members, I acknowledge, but I am counting myself. No speaker has ever counted himself among members of Parliament. It hasn't happened, even if you are a member of Parliament.
So the moment, you did that for a reason.
Aisha, I'm just giving you an example. If you are appointed a referee to a match, in the same match that is being played, and Mr. Speaker is a referee, if you are appointed a referee to a match, in the course of the match, can you change over and be a player?
No, you can't.
Is it possible to be a referee and a player at the same time?
No.
So you see a referee who at a certain stage of the match will chase the ball and blast it to the net, and he himself will blow the whistle, goal, and say, go and pass. How does a speaker, number one, get up and say he's not speaker? So if you are not speaker, the chair you are sitting on is what? If you are not speaker, the decision that you are taking it in your capacity as what? And I was astonished because, Aisha, when Honorable Joseph Wusu comes to sit as member of Parliament, let us assume Honorable Bagbin is in the house. When he comes, he sits as a member of Parliament. So he takes his seat on the floor in the chamber.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, when he comes to sit as a speaker, when he's coming in, all of us get up.
Yep.
In reverence of the speaker.
Yep.
He goes to say the prayer for all of us, and we all follow him. So, is he saying that if it's Joe say so when he comes up, we shall get up for him? Shall we get up for him? Will he have the opportunity to go and say prayer for all of us to follow him?
As a member of
and when he bangs his gavel on the distance, all of us are enjoyed to quiet. Do you think that if it's Joe say so he can tell me to be quiet? You see, so the difference is clear. What he did was illegal. It is well intentioned to set up a team to deal with others. But I told you, Aisha, there are root causes of this problem.
Okay.
This committee, that so-called 20-member committee that they are talking about, has not dealt with the root cause of the problem. And the root cause of the problem is the attitude and the conduct and the misconduct of the speaker.
Okay.
Is the committee going to deal with the Mr. Speaker? So what problem are they going to solve? So I'm saying that we may as well go and talk plenty in the same hypocritical things that we do and refuse to address the core issue. Tomorrow it will come back. If we have a speaker who comes back and a speaker who sits there and does this same kind of thing, there'll be trouble in the house.
All right, we'll try and get our my colleague Parker, who's been monitoring events for us in Parliament, to tell us when this probe will begin, if the minority has told him. Let's talk about the fuel brouhaha that has greeted us this week. There's been mixed reactions by some motorists to the announcement of a 15% reduction in fuel prices at the Guel fuel pumps. The reduction in the fuel price was the outcome of a meeting between government and transport operators yesterday following their nationwide strike. Importers of what they describe as nuisance taxes bloating the prices of petroleum products. Head of Communications at the Ghana Road Transport Union, Abbas Umoro, says the price reduction is an interim measure as government addresses their concerns over the taxes.
At the meeting, and government officials were there. Well, the transport minister tabled our grievances, the petition we've written to him, and what went on up to today. And finally, what they did was, yes, they have to see how best they could rectify the issue. And they told us that, yes, the taxes that we are looking for, the total scrapping, must have to go through Parliament for approval or any other thing that the parliamentarians will decide. So in the interim, they will start with using oil, since that is the only oil company that they have control over, to start reducing the prices for us. And they even promised, effective from tomorrow, oil will start reducing so that they will force the other oil marketing companies also, because if you have more higher price, nobody will patronize your products. So after lengthy discussions, this is what we arrive at, and we have to put down some conditions that, well, we want to take your words, but should there be any upward adjustment in their prices, then maybe we'll have to reassemble and see how best we can. After all, it is the current fuel prices that we are looking at. And we'll research and find out that some of the taxes could be reduced for us, whereby it will alleviate us from the current suffering situation in which we are.
But the move has been met with mixed reactions by some motorists who spoke with JoyNews. While some have hailed the new prices, others say it's insignificant. Let's listen to some drivers who spoke to us in Kumasi.
15 pesos in the Ukraine MYA. Now, I say what to fool say
the 15 pesos reduction won't help in our operations. Fuel prices have gone up about 10 times this year, and it's only Goil who have reduced their prices.
If Ukraine filling stations in only Goil Goil 15 pesos no. The best rabbi no. We the onion and no want to be on say food and wedding. Which are kilometers now? Let's say 15 pesos now. Come here,
no, me who is the artist? Want to see them not be about 25. Can drivers now who answer? I
do not see the essence of reducing the fuel by 15 pesos. We should unite and embark on a strike action to demand reduction in fuel prices. Let's forget about our political affiliation.
You see, 15
pesos? That's too small. I used to buy fuel at 100 Ghana cedis, but now I buy 170 Ghana cedis, which cannot even last 3 trips.
At least
petrol, I say diesel, they will say at least 1 gallon, about 20 cedis.
At least a gallon should be reduced to 20 Ghana cedis. The price of fuel keeps going up every day, which has affected our business.
15 pesos.
No, this right. Anyone for now? Well, it would have been better if the price of fuel hadn't been reduced. The government is just toying with us.
In Accra, my colleague Michael Papania-Shale has been visiting some fuel pumps and has filed this report.
We are here live at Applicant fuel station, the gold station here. And right behind me, you can see that the figures have changed. It used to be 6.85 yesterday, but I'm understanding that 6 a.m. today, this automated machine changed it to 6.7 according to the directive. So that's what we have here this morning. It's been changed from 6.85 to 6.7. The other gold station you've been to also reflects the same. Let's check from the other fuel stations and compare that to this. We are here at the Applicant La Paz Trotro station to interact with some of the drivers on the reduction of the fuel at the fuel pumps at Goil.
I think 7,700 is still too high. It's still too high. We need to buy a whole gallon, 25 Ghana cedis. And the levies, the energy levies on the fuel, they should just take everything out. Because Ghanaians are suffering too much. You work at the end of the day, you take all your money to filling stations. At the end, we have family too in the house. So why can't the government do something about it? It just looks like we are in our own country as if we are slaves. So we are pleading with the government that it should do something about the fuel. The fuel should come down for all of us to be okay.
The new prices, right now, the petrol increase is too high. We are suffering because we are begging the president say reduce the fuel taxes for us. We need to buy the fuel price. 1 gallon is 25 Ghana cedis. It's okay. That's my problem. Everybody buy fuel, every driver buy fuel, but not only Goil filling station is selling the fuel. Total is selling the fuel. Why do you say reduce only Goil reduce the fuel price? Why? People are we have Puma, Shell,
Total, Benap. All of us is selling the fuel, but not the same price. Different prices. Some are selling 32, 34, 28, 29. Which is which?
No, it's not okay. Right now, we wanted to be reduce it so that if he is not going to reduce it, other he will increase the lorry fare for us. We are not enough. We want to come down, we're talking about 5 something, so that we will be okay on that way.
God is to reduce this price this morning, as I was announced, by 15 pesos. I think that is very much inadequate. We are estimating that if we are able to reduce the fuel price by at least 1 cedi 20, 1 cedi 50, it will go a long way to reduce our problems. So if you were to buy 30 liters a day, that is roughly you are spending extra 60 cedis. So if you are reducing it by 15 pesos, multiply 15 pesos by 30 liters and see the difference. You see, so is 15 pesos is very much I do about nothing. So we think that they can do better. 1 cedi 20, it's okay.
So here is the Abekan Junction Shell fuel station. The numbers on the board is 6.850 per liter here for diesel and for petrol, respectively. Just as a way of background, as of 1st December 2021, the prices stood at 6.90 per liter. Now we are at Dabraka, and from behind me you can see that Total is also now selling at 6.80. The figures from December 1, 2021 is still at the same figures, hasn't changed. Reporting from Dabraka for JoyNews, Michael Papani Ashali.
Let's zoom on the full situation. Duncan Amwa is Executive Director of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana, COPEG, and he joins us via Zoom. Duncan Amwa, I'm grateful for your time. Does the 15 pesos reduction resolve the situation we're dealing with?
Aisha, I wish I could say yes, but it certainly does not resolve the situation. It gives some temporal relief. If you were buying fuel yesterday at 6.85 and today is 6.70, that's some relief. But is that exactly what our drivers were asking for? The answer again will be no. Should this posturing by the Chief of Staff and, for that matter, government be applauded? I'm afraid again, no. You do have a downstream sector that has over 80 active oil marketing companies with outlets across the country. We have commenced a price deregulation program since July 2015. And what that means is that government was taking its hands off completely as far as pricing is concerned. In times when prices have gone up and we have indicated the need for government to intervene, the response you get is that it is not government that is setting fuel prices. This move is giving a contrary indication to the effect that government is now able to directly manipulate fuel prices, and I'm quite certain it opens the floodgate for a lot more protest in the coming days, simply because if people do not understand why fuel prices are where they are, instead of adopting scientific measures or scientific approaches to get fuel prices reduced, it has become simply a directive. Why 15 pesos? It could have been 10. Why not 20 pesos? It could have been 1 cedi, like I heard some of the drivers that you did speak to also allude to. And so clearly, this is something that gives temporary relief, but would lead to serious problems, even for GOIL itself, who is now working with these directives. Aisha, if you have a supplier that probably has sent you products and expect you to pay them after 30 days or 60 days, and then government comes in to instruct that you should reduce prices. The question everyone will be asking is government going to make up for the reduction? Per calculations in-house, government is set to, per this singular action, cost GOIL a minimum 90 million Ghana cedis in 1 month. If you do the 60 million liters that GOIL naturally sells monthly, you are looking at almost 90 million Ghana cedis loss to GOIL alone. Now, what happens with GOIL shareholders? Mind you, government has 34% stake in the listed entity called GOIL. SNIT has got a stake of about 25%, BOST has got about 20%. Then the ordinary Ghanaian shareholder also has some additional 20% holding in GOIL. What happens to their stocks? Would they be able to get the kind of dividends that GOIL has given them over the period? This move.
All right, so. All right, so we're losing Duncan Amwa there. It's obvious there's a terrible internet connection there. It's something we'll try and get him to join back so that we can have a proper conversation on what this means for Ghanaians, especially the drivers who are asking for a reduction. Is Duncan Amwa back? All right, so hello, Duncan Amwa. Hello, Duncan Amwa.
I can hear you, Aisha.
Yes, yes, we lost you briefly, so go ahead.
So what I'm indicating is that, yes, for consumers, the relief is good. But is that the solution that the GPRTU and other transport operators were asking for?
They were asking
I did hear the GPRTU
the scrapping of some 5 taxes on petroleum.
Yes. And so they were specific in their demands. Now, what was thrown to them is what I will call a knee-jerk reactive or reactionary measure. We are simply throwing in 15 pesos, hoping that it assuages their grievances. But what I can, off the top of my head, say is that this might be as interim as it's temporal, because for tomorrow you wake up, fuel prices go up again. The agitations are likely to start. Now, once government is also given an indication that it unilaterally can instruct some of the OMCs to reduce taxes, then you are heading to a point where if other sections of Ghanaians do not also like what we see at the pumps, we simply must be asking government to continue reducing. But Aisha, overall, this is very bad for the petroleum downstream sector, if you ask.
Duncan Amwa, let me ask you this. Ideally, what should have been the situation?
The situation should have been Finance Ministry going through a gamut of the taxes, as I have here, which we have indicated over and over again, something could be done. You have BOST that has a certain levy, BOST margin. It is moved from 3 to 9 pesos. Let's grant it, government even wants to give 15 pesos reduction relief.
Duncan Amwa is Executive Director of COPEC. He's been explaining why he thinks the 15 pesos reduction in GOIL fuel at the GOIL pumps is a knee-jerk reaction. He says it doesn't resolve the issues by which the demands of the drivers. And he's been explaining why the Finance Ministry should have done more. Do we have Duncan Amwa back?
Aisha, I'm still here. I don't know.
All right,
why
go
my
ahead. Go
connection
ahead.
is a bit terrible.
Go ahead, Duncan Amwa.
So what we are saying is that granted government even wants to give 15 pesos relief to Ghanaians, there are proper ways we could have done this from the price build-up. First has 9 pesos levy. We could safely move 5 pesos in the interim and give them 4 pesos. They will still be operational. They will still be able to manage at least up until the time that prices decline. You've introduced the sanitation and pollution levy of 10 pesos. Assuming you decided to just take off the sanitation alone at this time to cushion Ghanaians, you would have safely achieved the same 15 peso reduction with just the bus levy and the sanitation levy combined. With that, Shell, Total, Allied, Agape, everybody else, Petrosol could simply have also given 15 pesos to their customers. As it stands, 15 pesos that government is giving can only go to 22% of Ghanaians, 28% who probably may be patronizing other oil marketing companies, which probably are spread along their routes or routes, would get nothing. And this is not what I think government would have loved to do. If it is 15 you want to give, there are a gamut of taxes that we have listed. The special petroleum tax of 48 pesos. We could safely have gone into that and given 20 pesos out in the interim if we wanted. But what we have done is simply to throw gold under the trade and simply to say that the 90 million Ghana cedis that government is given is simply going to go through gold. If gold doesn't remain viable in 5 years, if gold doesn't sustain their books in 10 years, it is the same trotro driver that will be asked to come and pay for what we today have as store debt. You may end up having a gold debt situation also being created. These things should not be allowed to continue going forward. If you ask me, Aisha.
Does COPEC have any intention of taking any action to ensure this is resolved?
Well, Aisha, what I can assure is that in front of me, we've also put together a very scientific document that is specific on what to do when international market prices are bullish or simply increasing. You could have a situation where at, let's say, crude prices at, say, $66, your total tax incidence could decline, somewhere to about 2.83. When it also declines, when crude prices decline, you could have your taxes move up from the 283 to about 597. That way, you do not have fuel prices go above and beyond the ordinary pockets. So you have to find a certain strategy that manages prices. If you don't manage prices, you would only wait for international market prices to go up. Once it does, people will come asking for taxes to be reduced, and some of these knee-jerk reactions would unfortunately be what we resort to. This is very, very scientific. It details what to do when prices get to what levels, what not to do when prices are also lower, what taxes could be enforced so that we can maintain prices like I have indicated.
And you've given a copy to
corporation
government.
like
Have you shared a copy of this with government, the NPA, and other stakeholders that matter?
What I can assure is that this is a document that is currently with the NPA and the Ministry of Energy. I'm quite certain that in due time, it could proceed to the Finance Ministry to be adopted if and only if the issue is to manage fuel prices. If we don't adopt a right strategy today, we will come back next year, we will come back 2 years, we'll come back 3 years. The same problem will linger because the taxes are high, world market prices fluctuate. It goes up, it comes down, the cedi continues to depreciate, and the most likely outcome will be that fuel prices will continue to go up. Until we adopt a more scientific strategy, we are not going to be out of the woods yet. Lastly, Aisha, as we speak, prices on the international market, it's quite volatile. It goes up, it comes down. If we could also resource bust or reposition bust, so that it doesn't just become a dumper that only is waiting for BDC products to come in, and then they take throughput charges or monies to maintain their operations. If we're able to get them a certain sum to get strategic stock stored, in the eventual circumstance that fuel begins to go up again somewhere February, March, we would likely have a stock. And that means we don't have to go pay spot prices as we pay when anytime fuel prices go up. If you manage your system that way, there's a certain degree of predictability, there's a degree of petroleum security, there's a degree of price control. But as it stands, there's no strategy. What is operating anyhow, the Tema Oil Refinery, as I even gathered today, their utility, ECG, has also disconnected even light from the refinery. It means nothing is working downstream. There's no coherent strategy. Until we adapt one, Aisha, I'm afraid the 15 pesos, 10 pesos, 14 pesos would simply be a wishy-washy activity and would not sustain prices the way the drivers would want these prices to be sustained for them.
I'm grateful for your time this afternoon. Duncan Amoah is Executive Director of COPEC. Now, still to come on the pulse, teacher unions, CTT, NAT, NAGRAT, debunk claims of fraud in the one teacher, one laptop deal. This afternoon, the unions have been stating their position on the matter.
To finance this is the professional development allowance. Now, this appeal that we are making, look, we are unions. We even wish government to say, looking at the situation, we have decided to absorb 100% of the cost and we'll be very happy.
Welcome back to The Pulse. The rest of our stories. 3 teacher unions have debunked assertions of fraud in the one teacher, one laptop deal after some teachers raised concerns about the policy. The Ghana National Association of Teachers, NATS, National Association of Graduate Teachers, and Coalition of Concerned Teachers, Ghana, said there's no fishy deal in the contract they initiated, contrary to the speculations that monies are being deducted without providing the laptops. Addressing the media, the unions disclosed that after conceiving the idea and further engagement with the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service, an MOU was signed with all other processes undertaken by the government. President of NAGRAT, Angel Kabonu, also indicates that no teacher's salary has been touched.
You appoint leaders because you repose in them some level of knowledge to be able to take decision on behalf of the collective. That is what leadership is. So when you take a loan, when you take an advance, definitely you pay an interest on that. In any case, like I said, what money was used to finance this is the professional development allowance. Now, this appeal that we are making, look, we are unions. We even wish government to say, looking at the situation, we have decided to absorb 100% of the cost and we'll be very happy. No teacher's salary is being touched. The professional development allowance has a specific purpose to aid the teacher in his or her professional development. And that was what was negotiated. Indeed, at the negotiation, government had wanted to ring-fence that amount of money and kept it with an institution, something the union leaders refused. And that it should go to the people. But whenever there is the need to use part of it to enhance the professional development as mandated by the new policy, that money will be used for that purpose. That is what the professional development allowance is.
President of NAGRAT, Mr. Angel Kabonu, joins us via phone right now with more. Mr. Kabonu, I'm grateful for your time this afternoon.
Voice is so low.
Mr. Kabonu, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm asking why there's this assertion that there's fraud in this one. Have you not been open with this scheme?
Well, if you ask why there is an assertion, then that question will have to go to those who are asserting. Because we have first negotiated a professional allowance of 1,200 for teachers. There are conditions attached to the professional allowance. The professional allowance is not part of salary. It is not part of salary. It is meant to do specific things. The mistake we made was that we were able to tangle with government for the professional allowance. Instead of being kept in an account, we paid to teachers when maybe aspects have not been used. And let me give you an example. In 2020, last year, all teachers in this country were deducted 100 Ghana cedis for their allowances. This year, 26,000 teachers were deducted that 100 cedis for their allowances. So the Director General even indicated that there is a need for them to enumerate how this professional allowance was supposed to be used. But unions disagreed, and monies were paid to teachers. It is out of that professional allowance that monies were taken for this laptop project. Now, nobody can show any evidence that there was something untoward and that there was some fraud or anything. It is a figment of people's imagination trying to create issues where there are no issues. So for me, if you ask me why people think that there is fraud, then you just have to go back to those people to prove to you where there is something untoward. But as far as we are concerned, we took the interest of the profession into consideration. We took the interest of the teacher into consideration. We realized that certain things that we're doing manually was unnecessarily becoming cumbersome, and we felt that the way to go is IT, and the amount of money we use will not be the salary of teachers, but their professional development allowance.
So what's the situation as we speak? Do the teachers have the laptops now?
The laptop, as we speak, laptops are being distributed. I just got a call from Ashanti region where a teacher indicated that he's trying to get the login code. And I said, look, he should relax. When the people get to his school, they'll help him to get the login. So distribution is going on. No teacher's money, no teacher whose money is being deducted will go without the laptop, because there is a check system that will ensure that every teacher will get his or her laptop. So distribution is going on. If they haven't gotten to your school yet, they definitely will get to your school.
Interesting. And of course, the reason I asked you that question is whether you've given them reason to actually think that there's anything fraudulent with the scheme.
We haven't given anybody any reason. They did not understand the calculations because they thought they were getting different figures. But that explanation was done adequately this morning at the press conference.
Okay, what's the explanation?
If the price of the laptop, the total price of the laptop is 1,550, and then the teachers would have come to 465. A loan component of 18.1 was taken from GESOP, and then that loan component raised the money to 549.16. Then there was a negotiation indicating that as at the time that the professional development allowance came, GESOP had not disbursed the total loan system. Therefore, it was unfair for government GESOP to slap the total interest component on the laptops. Based on that, the price of the laptop, the 30% component, came to 509 Ghana cedis, 0.55, and that was what was deducted from the teacher's salary. So for me, all these explanations were done and was given to them, and it is in our press statement that was read by us at the press conference. I do not know where the hula baloo is coming from. I do not know the reason for those noise. I do not know the reasons for those displeasure. And in fact, I am at a loss as to what is actually happening and where it is coming from.
Mr. Carbonu, how soon will the teachers get their laptops?
As I speak, almost 90% of senior high schools have almost gotten their laptops. The Ghana Education Service, from the information I gather, is organizing through district directors and regional directors as to how the basic schools, that is the primary schools and the JHS, will be giving their laptops. So, for me, I don't understand actually because if someone can prove that at the end of the distribution of the laptop, he or she did not get a laptop, then that is a different conversation that we can have.
I'm grateful for your time. Angel Carbonu is president of NAGRAT. On the 17th of December, the first national standardized test for basic school pupils will begin. Basic 4 pupils will write the English language and literacy exams, followed by those who lower primary, who will write literacy, English language and mathematics. This is part of the new educational reforms introduced by the Education Ministry. Sector Minister Dr. Yosei Duchum gave further details at a news conference in Accra.
Standardized test is scheduled as follows. This year, we're only doing primary 4. But in the coming academic years, you're going to have primary 2, primary 4, primary 6 also done. And then we'll extend it to junior high school and high school eventually. What does it do for the nation? What it does for us is that if students in primary 4 take this assessment in English and mathematics and they don't do well, what it means is that we have to then do intervention in primary 5 and then assess them again in primary 6. Our goal is to make sure that we improve learning outcomes for students. And in order to do that, we need to know the situation of the students at any step of the way. So when you begin with primary 2 and you do your assessment and the students are not doing well generally, you have primary 3 to do intervention. If specific students are not doing well and others are doing so well, you also have critical data that will allow teachers to do interventions for those students. And those who are doing so well, there's opportunity for acceleration. So whichever way you look at it, this is the first bold attempt at ensuring that we know how our students are doing from primary 2, primary 4, all the way. Because of the pandemic, we decided that we'll focus this year on primary 4. The significance of primary 4 is that it aligns with the World Bank's learning poverty definition. The World Banks have something that they call the learning poverty, and they look at students at primary 4 or by age 10, and they look at how many of them can read at proficiency level. If you have students who cannot read at the proficiency level, they use that to measure the learning poverty of your country. Even before the pandemic, in sub-Saharan Africa, learning poverty was 87%. That 87% of our students could not read at proficiency level. So this is going to give us a critical data and a critical benchmark for the Ghana Education Service to begin to provide intervention for our students and begin to look at how we will improve learning outcomes. So the NST is going to generate data on student performance. It will help us address learning gaps, sometimes between students in one classroom or among students in one classroom, and then you look at between districts, between regions in the country. It's a rare opportunity for us to get real-time data that can be used for decision-making purposes. And then we will be able to identify and analyze variations in learner achievements, as I've indicated, by region, gender, location, and school type. Then it also helps us generate information for resource allocation. We also have an opportunity to obtain information that will be used for intervention and therefore use this data critically for policy making.
Let's get some perspective on this new curriculum. And joining me via Zoom is Executive Director of Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare. Kofi Asare, I'm grateful for your time. What are we going in for with this new standardized assessment? I mean, textbooks came in a bit late. I do not know if teachers have received their lesson guides, fully distributed to them. But for you, are the students well prepared, the pupils well prepared for this kind of exams?
We know the challenges that has occasioned the initial rollout of the new curriculum. It's been 2 academic years without textbooks. And so it is difficult for me to say that students are well prepared. But it is only the performance of the students and perhaps their teachers who will be in a better position to determine whether the students are adequately prepared or not. But so far as we are concerned, the situation of public schools not having textbooks in primary schools alone is a significant setback in their preparation for this examination. Having said that, a lot of teachers have been improvising and using the curriculum guide and other resource materials to facilitate teaching and learning. So to the extent that that works may be the difference between preparedness of students or not. But I think that textbooks are so critical, textbooks are so fundamental in teaching and learning that its absence alone, poses a significant setback to the level of preparedness of students for this particular test.
For the delay in textbooks, do you know?
Pardon me?
What could be accounting for this delay, do you know?
Well, yeah, there were issues with content. We all witnessed the content issues that were raised by stakeholders in respect of the approved textbooks. So some content review had to be done. And there were issues with procurement delays. These, so far as I'm concerned, were the 2 factors that are accountable for the delay. Apart from that, it doesn't appear as if it was the original intention of government to roll out textbooks simultaneously with the curriculum. We decided to follow a history that hasn't helped us, a history where you roll out a curriculum and then after a couple of years you bring textbooks. That history hasn't helped us, but we decided to follow that, negative history or culture. And so I think that those are the reasons why we still don't have public textbooks in public basic schools. We've been given assurance that textbooks will be available in the next academic year. That is heartwarming to note. But in respect of the NST for primary 4, it is a matter of cautious optimism because according to the teachers, the lack of textbook has affected tremendously their work. Bearing in mind that post-COVID, it was a wholesale promotion for all primary 3 students to enter primary 4. And at that particular time, teachers were expected to teach. They were expected to catch up for the 2 terms that were lost in primary 3. And they were at the same time supposed to do the primary 4 teaching, all without textbooks, and other facilities, but mainly textbooks. And so these challenges can never be, a subject of can never be overlooked if you are gauging the preparedness of students for the NST.
Mr. Kofi Asare, should we go back to where we were until we get what it takes to run this new curriculum?
Well, if you remember, at the launch of the primary school curriculum, we indicated that a good curriculum is as good as its implementation arrangements.
Definitely.
Meaning a good policy is as good as how it is implemented. It is not about being good in content or structure, or focus or strategy, but being good in its implementation. And so unfortunately, we haven't learned from the past, and a very beautiful curriculum for the primary schools And then we, got up to a false start by starting to roll out the curriculum without the critical building blocks. It meant that we probably had bought a new BMW, but we were fueling it with, old petrol, or if you like, kerosene. That is the challenge we've had in respect of policy implementation in this country over the years. And the rollout of this curriculum, unfortunately, did not depart from the negative history of, poor policy implementation, even though the intentions, of these policies are very, very well positive. So that is the challenge we are having. I think that we recommended to government then that in future, we must follow what most states do in the US. In the US, for instance, when new curricula are being rolled out, what happens is that you don't begin implementing the new curriculum the very year the curriculum is adopted or approved. No. You phase the rollout. So you wait until the whole batch of students who are in school complete school. Then when they leave, you start implementing the curriculum. By that time, all the materials, all the resources required to adequately implement the curriculum should have been in place, tested enough, and ready for full rollout. That is what we need to do, and not to rush because of political reasons. We know that every administration has 4 years, and until you get an extension, you assume that everything you are doing, including all your reforms, must see the light of day within 4 years. That is why perhaps we have to rush this. But I think that we need to have a broader discussion about how we do our reform in respect of curriculum and roll them out. Because if we continue rolling out curriculum this way, we will always have problems with our curriculum, even though the content may be good, but then the implementation arrangements poorly, rolled out.
Be it as it may, the test will happen nevertheless. What do you envisage will happen by the end of these exams? Hello, Kofi. Hello, Kofi Asare, can you hear me? All right. Kofi Asare is Executive Director of Africa Education Watch. Kofi, can you hear me? If you can, I'm asking, what do you foresee the outcome of the examination to be? All right, so we lost him there, but he makes a critical point that we need to relook this curriculum because the teachers have complained that lack of textbooks have affected the preparation of the pupils towards this standardization test. But this afternoon also, police in the Greater Accra region are on a manhunt for persons suspected to have burned down a newly built police station at Tebiano. The station, which was expected to be the district headquarters for the Gasau municipality, was touched by unknown persons Saturday night, just days to its commissioning. Manuel Kranting of our security desk is at the scene and joins us live with updates. Manuel, what have you been able to gather with regards to this situation?
Well, so Aisha, what we know is that the incident occurred on November 27, that's some 10 days ago, ahead of the official opening, like commissioning of the station, which was to be on December 1, 2021. We're told that just about 5 days or so to that commissioning, some unknown suspected to have been arsonists torched part of the police station, but for the timely intervention of youth in the area, we're told that the entire station would have been razed to the ground. What we've learned is that this particular station has been in the working for close to a decade now, with a series of violent crimes being recorded in the area. And so after years of engagement with the police hierarchy and of course the municipal assembly, the assembly through its common fund was able to put up this particular structure, which started sometime in 2013, 2014. And so just about last week it was supposed to be commissioned, but that commissioning will once again have to be pushed back because it has become now a scene of an active investigation as we have learned.
And what does the preliminary investigation by the fire service suggest, Manuel?
Well, Aisha, the fire service, the personnel of the fire service who were on the ground today as we visited the scene, conducting interrogations and so on in the area, have declined from commenting, on the matter just yet. They say they want to be able to put their together and then make a concrete statement as to what might have caused this fire. But speaking to eyewitnesses in the area, they say they suspect. In fact, at the night that the incident happened, there was pungent smell of petrol and so on in the room, which was expected to be the commander's room. And so they suspect that these arsonists, as they are suspecting, might have poured petrol into the room and then set it ablaze. As yet, we do not have confirmation from the personnel from the Ghana Fire Service. They are investigating, but these are the things that the eyewitnesses on the ground, as we visited, told me, Aisha.
Manuel Cransing is our man at the Tebibiano police station, the new police station yet to be commissioned that has been bent by unknown person. Police is still conducting investigations into that matter, and we'll bring you updates once we get any from the police. We'll take a break on the Pulse. We'll bring you the very latest from the world of sports, but remember, you can join us via all our social media handles. It's on JoyNews on TV, and you can tweet at us with the hashtag #ThePulse.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Pulse with me, Ori Kwampo. For AC Milan, FC Porto, and Atletico Madrid chased the remaining slot in Group B of the Champions League. Group B leaders Liverpool will be will be playing AC Milan in Italy, actually, as FC Porto and Atletico Madrid also go head-to-head in Portugal. We'll be discussing what it means for the remaining three teams who battle it out for the last lot. Liverpool would be going through on top no matter what happens. But let's take a look at the fixtures for tonight, and then we'll also take a look at the standings in the Champions League as well. In terms of Group B, this is how things look at the moment. Liverpool would finish as top of the group, but between FC Porto, AC Milan and Atletico Madrid, one will join the Reds in the knockouts run, and the other one would head to the Europa League. There would be one unfortunate team which would crash completely out of Europe tonight. Well, joining me in studio is Joy Sports' Joel Bote to look at which one of the three teams is likely to join Liverpool in the knockout round of the Champions League. Welcome, Joel. From where things stand at the moment, AC Milan, their job is simple. They have to beat Liverpool to qualify. Atletico Madrid, Porto, a little bit of permutation. They would have to hope for other results to go their way and all that. Out of these three teams, Porto, AC Milan, and then Atletico Madrid, who do you think is the favorite to go out and to go through tonight?
So tonight, I believe Atletico Madrid have the advantage because they are playing Porto. Some would say Atletico is a much bigger club than Porto. So people are expecting Atletico to take that step and take the game to Porto and come out with the result. What they need is for Liverpool to hold AC Milan, and by doing that, it will help them not only get the chance to qualify, but they need a goal difference as well, because AC Milan is leading by 1 goal in terms of goal difference. So they need that Liverpool step to be able to qualify.
Well, for Atletico Madrid, they have to win no matter what.
Yes, they don't have an option.
Do you think they have what it takes to win against Porto? They've not been the best of teams this Champions League campaign.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, because they've really struggled with the expectation people had for them. They've really been underperforming. But I believe that they have what it takes. I mean, you have the likes of Joao Felix, you have Suarez, just name it. They have the big names. Porto are known for the kind of defensive football that they kind of play. So that is where the problem will be. Both will try and play the defensive football, but who is able to take the game to who will be able to take the next step.
Let's look at Liverpool, AC Milan. Liverpool are already through. Jurgen Klopp has hinted at some squad rotations, and so that could, in a way, benefit AC Milan themselves, who are playing at home. If they win, they qualify. They've not been in the Champions League for 7 years. What do you think their chances are tonight?
Well, I wouldn't want to cut or write them off, but I believe that it's Liverpool they are playing. They have to show that fighting spirit that they have, which they've shown throughout the season in their league. They've had injuries and all. So hopefully, they're able to take that step and play Liverpool at their home and show that they can definitely get a result.
Let me push you to the wall, Joel. Liverpool would finish first. Who finishes second and who goes to the Europa League and third and who crashes out of Europe?
So let me say Liverpool first. Atletico Madrid second. AC Milan third. Porto out.
Porto out. That would be pretty difficult for them to take, especially because they are playing at home. But you just did hear the permutations in terms of Group B. Of course, there'll be other fixtures as well and matches ongoing with Manchester City facing Leipzig in Germany in the early kickoff. We're bringing you highlights of the games and updates when JoyNews Prime comes your way during the sports segment. My name is Ori Kwampofo, and that's how we wrap up here.
And it's been a wonderful staying with you for almost 2 hours. I've indeed enjoyed my stay with you this afternoon. That's where we part company. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching. Let's Talk Showbiz. It's up next, but do log on to myjoyonline.com. That's where you get updates of all the developing stories. See you again at 7 p.m. Enjoy the rest of our stories.